Hello and welcome along to section 5 of the DIY telesales course with me, Chris Newton from Newton Fox. Okay, section 5 is all about script building. To recap, we have looked at the sort of company that we feel that we need to talk to, that we should gain and have some favourable interest from. We now need to work out what are we going to say. When we pick the phone up and we talk to this person at this company, what exactly are we going to say? Now, there are component parts to a script. If you think of them as jigsaw parts, they don't always go in the right order at the right time, but we can identify them as definite parts. So one part of the conversation of the script is the first person conversation, and that would hitherto have been called the gatekeeper. I don't like the phrase gatekeeper. But I know everyone knows, or most people know what I mean when I say that phrase, but I call it first person conversation. The opening statement, which can come at any time when we're talking to the first person who answers the phone, or when we're talking to the decision maker. Trial close, and I'll explain what that means and what that is. Fact-finding questions, again, we'll go through that in some detail. And then the pitch, objection handling, and how to close a call. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is look at the first person conversation. As I say, most sales calls, courses will talk about getting past the gatekeeper. How do I get past the gatekeeper? That phrase doesn't do much for me, really. It makes me think about somebody with their arms folded tightly, a huge gate padlocked. I know it's a strange thing to say, but it's the psychology of, if you expect a gatekeeper, if you expect to be rebuffed, refused, turned back, turned away, then you're probably going to be. Your attitude is infectious. You will invite someone to do what you think they're going to do, and that could be a good thing. And that could be a bad thing. So if you think they're going to reject you, you will invite them to do that subconsciously. You'll just have to trust me that that's true. Anyway, so rather than think of them as a horrible arm-folded gatekeeper, I like to think of them as a concierge. And the concierge, of course, is the person, usually in a posh hotel foyer or lobby, who is there to help direct you in the right direction and help you get to the place where you want to get to. And they do it with a big smile on their face, and they're very delighted to do that. So if you expect to meet a concierge rather than to meet a gatekeeper, psychologically that will help you an awful lot. Whoever answers the phone, and again, the misconception a lot of experienced salespeople have is that it's going to be a receptionist of some sort, and it could actually be the CEO of the company who just happens to be passing the phone when it rings. So never assume anything. But whoever answers the phone, just have a nice 1 or 2 line introduction to you and your company, and we'll go through that in a second, just to get the conversation started. Simply ask for the person that you want to speak to. I've heard a lot of people will announce the fact that they're a salesperson simply by the way they talk and the way they ask for the person. So if you have the name of the person that you want to speak to, just ask for that person. It sounds like this. Hello, good morning, ABC Limited. John Greaves, please. Who's calling, please? Chris Newton from Newton Fox. One moment, Chris. Hello, John Greaves. That's how it sounds. It's as simple, or it can be as simple as that. But if you announce to the person who answers the phone that you're a salesperson, then it could go very differently for you. And that's how this sounds. Hello, good morning, ABC Limited. Oh, yes, hello, good morning. My name's Chris Newton. I'm wanting to speak to Mr. Greaves, please, John Greaves, if he's free, please. Is this a sales call? I just wanted to introduce ourselves, really. We make widgets, and I'm just wondering if you... no, I'm sorry, I'll stop you there. We don't buy widgets, thank you, goodbye. Completely different outcome. Same person answered the phone. Scenario A, she put you through because you expected her to. and she did what she was expected to do. Scenario B, she didn't put you through. She quizzed you and questioned you because you invited her to do that. You see the point? Okay. So don't make more of a meal of it than you need to. Simply ask for the person you want to speak to. Follow up with a good, clear reason for them to put you through. So if they are quizzing you, John Greaves, please. Who's calling? It's Chris Newton from Newton Fox. Well, is he expecting your call? We'll go through these questions in a second, but if they are challenging you in any way, prepare a good reason for them to put you through. Until you get put through to the decision maker, then the person you are talking to is the decision maker, because he or she is going to make a decision as to whether to put you through to somebody else or not. So right now they are the most important person to you in that entire company, and if they believe or perceive that you're just simply trying to look over their shoulder to get to somebody more important than they are, then their ego is going to kick in, and they're not going to see that as very flattering. So they're going to then start to dance with you to get you off the phone, and that's not what you want. So if they do challenge you, you can follow up with a good reason for them to put you through, and a request that they at least ask if their boss will take your call, if indeed it is their boss. Oh, and I've given you an example of that. So as I say, be ready for this. So I've given you some examples here. Those 6 questions at the top of this slide are all the same statement. And there's a few more as well, and they all mean the same thing. And what they mean is, what it's actually telling you is, I'm not sure whether to put you through or not. I need to double check to make sure that putting you through isn't going to get my knuckles rapped by my boss, because it was irrelevant and I should never have put you through. So you've got to think of him or her, if they are the gatekeeper, if they are the person in the foyer, they've got a job to do, and they've been briefed to not put salespeople through. Again, it's nothing personal, it's not you being rejected, but that's what they've been asked to do. So what do you say? How do you respond? So now we know it's kind of not a question, even though it's couched as a question. It's not really a question, it's a statement. So you've got a couple of options. Always tell the truth. You'll never hear me advocating telling anything but the truth. Be honest and be straightforward, and have a good reason. So in this instance, this is my first approach to Miss Jenkins. I know she's looking for ways to reduce stationery costs right now, and I have a solution for her. Will you see if she'll take my call? They did a survey in America a while ago, and they put 100 gatekeepers in a room, and they asked them questions on why they put some salespeople through and why others they don't. One of the key factors that made them put a salesperson through was that they'd clearly done some research on the company. So that wins you brownie points in 2 ways. Firstly, you clearly know what you're talking about, and that you've taken the time and trouble to do that. And secondly, it helps you with this reason, because if somebody's posted on LinkedIn, for example, that they are struggling with stationery costs and isn't it expensive these days, etc., or they've just made a comment of that in a post that they've made, and you've read that post, then that's quite impressive. And again, ego comes into play. Somebody that's read your post and is now reciting it back to you is actually quite flattering, isn't it? So that's a good way of getting past the gatekeeper, to give it its horrible term. It's a good way of basically, but then you're not trying to get past him or her, you're asking them, would you see if she'll take my call? So you're acknowledging that she's got the power to do whatever she or he wants to do. And that's helpful, because he or she then thinks, yeah, that's right, I'm in charge here. Okay, I will see if they'll take your call. Rather than just trying to sort of sideline them. Do you see the difference? Okay. Second option is about casting enough doubt in that person's mind as to whether to put you through or not. So they will make decisions upon certain items that they decide are so frivolous and unimportant that yes, they can safely sort of, bat you away and send you on your way. If, however, you've done some research and it's clear that you have some information that could be really valuable, there's an opportunity, and you have to be careful with this, but there's an opportunity to just put some doubt in their mind that not putting you through might not be such a good idea. In other words, it might come back to bite them on the botty because you're offering something that is pretty impressive. So, as a business, you are paying £23,000 per annum too much in tax, and I've got a way of legally getting that back for you. Will you see if she'll take that call? That's pretty compelling, because you're now saying, well, you're going to cost the company £23,000 if you don't put me through. And that might be a little bit, might not be a good idea. At least ask. And the chances are, in my experience, they will ask, just to cover themselves. But what you don't want to do is win the battle and lose the war. You don't want to say, how much did you pay in tax last year? And them say, well, I don't know. And then you say, well, put me through to someone who does. Because if you do that, you'll never get through ever again, because he or she will make a note of your name, and she'll remember, and he'll remember you for all the wrong reasons. So there's a difference. Okay. Let's have a little look at the opening statement. It should be about introducing yourself and your company very straightforwardly. Hello, my name is Chris Newton. I'm calling from a company called Newton Fox. We're a team of business development specialists. There we are. That's who I am, where I'm ringing from, and what we are. Dead straightforward. Build in a little advert that will hopefully pique some interest, and we'll talk about that in a second. State what you want from the call. Because if you don't know what you want to get out of this call, then they've got no chance. So be clear on what it is you are looking to do. It could be an appointment, an agreement for them to receive some information from you, either through the post or through email, or it could be a live demonstration. Whatever it is, be clear that you're telling them that's what you want to do, and give them at least one reason for them to agree. And then prepare a trial close, what we call a trial close, and that's just simply a way of testing the water to see if you've done enough to make them agree yet. Okay. So an example of an opening statement. Good morning, Miss Jones. I'm Jane Smith from Better Blinds Limited. We work with several well-known brands in your industry, and have, for example, recently saved Superhomes £25,000 on interior furnishings. I'd like to come across one day next week and show you how we did that. Now, obviously, I just read that from the screen, so I do sound a little bit wooden. You will have to loosen up a little bit and have that as a naturally flowing conversation for yourself before you attempt this. But if you look at that opening statement, we've got everything in there. We've got the introduction. We know who's calling, Jane Smith from Better Blinds. We work with several well-known brands, a little bit of an advert in your industry, and we're name dropping shamelessly here Superhomes PLC, who are a competitor to Jane Smith's company. So they are another Superhomes, but basically in competition, and we've saved them £25,000. There's no reason to believe why we can't do the same for you. And the trial closes. I'm just going to test the water now. What about next Wednesday at 11 o'clock? Or 3 o'clock, sorry, at 11, Wednesday 11th at 3 p.m. Not an alternative close, as you may have heard elsewhere. They may have worked in the 70s. They don't actually work these days. People can see right through them. But so we've given a good reason to say yes, hopefully. And we've given a time for them to agree. Now, if they don't agree for any reason, then we know that we're into the realms of objections, and we cover that in the next section. So to end this section, all I want you to do is to compose your own opening statement based on your own products and services, bearing in mind everything that we've gone through, so that you are ready with your opening statement, which can work equally well for the first person, the concierge, gatekeeper, as well as the decision maker. So it can come in two parts of the telephone conversation. So there we are. So key takeaways from this basically are you need to be organised. You need to have a script that really works, that you've really given some thought about, but you need to be able to deliver it in a way that sounds very natural. And you need to give people good reasons, give respect to everyone, and give people good reasons to put you through. Okay, so that's great. Thank you very much. In the next section, as I say, we'll be looking at objection handling and how to do that, how to handle these objections. So I look forward to seeing you on the next section. Thanks very much for watching.